Greetings, my name is Rudimentary Rob. Welcome back to my Trailmaker series. Today we pick up the action after we did a bit of a grind with our reputations with Leapsvale and Tungberg. Both of those we've got our max amount of power cores and we're in the process of grinding up for our current location. So I suggest you get yourself comfortable in whatever kind of mobile seat you prefer and let's get into the action. So I'm following the same formula that I've done for the two previous locations, which is to just pick up and repeat missions from the mission. So the settlement, that's the word I was going for. The settlement vision guy and or little robot. And to that end, we usually have a mixture of handing in resources, or killing, drones of various types, or hauling dudes around. So, before we get distracted about having a chat about that, we did a bit of an upgrade. So, we hit a level or so with our offline grinding, and that unlocked this larger pulse miner. Now, the larger pulse miner is good because we can mine not just the small deposits, we can mine the next ones up as well, and they are quite handy for additional resources. So you're going to see me over the course of the coming episodes mining a whole bunch of these bigger nodes to get additional resources, so hooray for that. Other than that, with the unlocking of additional power cores, we didn't mess too much with our shooting buggy here. We just added an extra couple of engines, which has sped us up a bit, and it's definitely helping out a lot with dealing with these, we'll say, somewhat crowded combat events. And as you can see, we're really not taking a lot of damage. Having the shield rotate in the same direction as the guns means that we're deflecting a lot of the incoming fire, and consequently, well, I won't say we're getting off with completely scot-free, but the amount of damage we're taking is very minimal compared to what we were taking before. So this formula is working very well for us moving forward. Now, speaking of moving forward, yep, we got more drones to kill and more rep to grind, so let's get on with it. And that is another ding. So yeah, we're going alright with this little setup we got going here. And in our gathering buggy, oh, here's a bigger node there. You get a couple of pulses and you usually get a lot more resources on each pulse. So they're good. The big nodes are awesome. But anyway, on our little gathering buggy, we've pretty much doubled the engine count from what we had before, which is why this thing is going around like a pocket rocket compared to our other vehicle. Now, the other, bear in mind a lot of this footage is sped up, but that bit where I picked up that chest isn't, and this buggy, it just burns around. It is absolutely fantastic to get around in and gather stuff. It stops and starts up really quickly, and having the larger pulse miner on there means I can mine stuff at a longer distance as well, which is good. So it saves me time having to slow down and wait, basically. So we kept mining for a bit. That was all pretty dull. And then we found some more drones to kill. So we've been able to do those, and as our little pop-up in the bottom right-hand corner indicates, killing those drones completed that mission that we had. So we're going to run back to Port Aquila. Oh, not Aquila, Aquilite. We're going back to Port Aquilite. We're going to hand this mission in, and then we're going to see what else we can do. Alright, I mentioned in the previous episode that one of the upcoming locations where pick up the froggets and, deliver them back to the settlement missions was a bit on the repetitive and annoying side. Yeah, this is the one that I was referring to. So I'm going to show the more or less the full travel distance as part of our first exercise to get out there, but then I'm going to chop it up a bit and cut it out for future runs, because we do make a few runs during the course of this episode. And this was about an hour and 15 minutes worth of footage. Yeah, I didn't really want to put people to sleep with some rather dull, repetitive type stuff. So, as I always tend to do, the first time I do something, I'll show you in full. But we're going to chop it up a bit for our future runs. Now, this artillery type arrangement here was a bit of a handful. Because it was on a slope and I couldn't easily approach it like I normally do and just, shoot it point blank. And all the tight turns was showing that the, as fantastic as this little shooting buggy is, it does have some issues making tight turns at speed. So, honestly, I don't actually think I'm going to change that. I do appreciate the mobility that this thing has, and the small downside of needing to slow down to make turns is pretty minor, all things considered. So, I mean, we didn't do any repairs during the course of that fight, and yeah, we got a lot of smoke coming out of the vehicle, but we got through it in one piece, so I'll call that a win. So we're going to do our free repair. And now we're going to move on towards our location where the froggets are. Now, these things I hadn't really come across before, but it's sulfur. And sulfur is used for some of the parts as well. I might spend a little bit of an episode just going through like the materials costs for some of the parts and things like that at some stage. It won't be this episode, it won't be the next episode, but I'll try and do it the one after that. By now I've got a pretty good sort of back catalogue of parts, and it might be good just to check in on how some of these other materials are utilised in terms of, sulphur's used for this, this material's used for that. So I'll put that on my mental list to do in an upcoming episode, so stay tuned for that one. In the meantime, we are just going to zap around like a crazy person, picking up as much sulphur as we can and anything else that suits our fancy along the way. Now, I've recognised that where the froggets are is sort of across this, in a rough sense, it's across this canal, and of course we've got our aquatic vehicle, which is what we've got here that we're in. Does it need some more work? Oh yes, it definitely needs a bit more work. Stay tuned in the next episode, minor spoiler, but the next episode we are going to devote quite a lot of time making this thing better. But for the moment, it's good enough to get us around, and certainly where I've only got short bodies of water and I'm not being under attack in the water, it actually does okay. If I need to do a lot of tight manoeuvres and accelerating and stopping and stuff, that aquatic vehicle does not do very well. Anyway, we got our mission complete indicator for the killing some more mining drones, which is awesome. So we're just going to finish off this last irritating little sod here. Oh, actually, wait, there's two last irritating sods. Oh, there we go. At least they formed an orderly queue. We can jump out, we can do a bit of a repair. Oh, actually, it looks like we had an engine or two shot off during that fight. Didn't really notice it, to be honest, so that's always a good sign. So we're just going to pick up the last of our fat loot here, and then we're going to head towards where the froggets are. Alright, we did make a minor amendment to our Frogget transporter. We didn't change the back of it at all. It still has 8 seats, which is exactly how many seats we need for these Frogget missions. But on the front, we put the heavy or the medium or whatever you want to call it, the pulse miner. So, mostly because the trips were a bit dull, not being able to gather resources, and I was starting to, post the boss fight. I was a little bit short on resources for a while, so I thought, look, if I'm transporting Froggets, I may as well be, mining stuff along the way. So that's why I've decided to put that on. And I was able to do that because of the increased power core count. So I don't think I changed the number of engines on this thing. All I did was, with the additional power core count, I just put the large pulse miner on the front, and that was it. So that was quite the win with having the additional power cores. So retrospectively, I would more than thoroughly recommend that you don't do what I did through the first half a dozen episodes. I would absolutely be grinding all of the mission rep that you can get for each of the settlements until you've unlocked the 3 power core potential for each settlement. Because once you've done that, it just makes your build so much easier. And you don't have to compromise. If you can have enough engines on there to make a decent speed with whatever your build is, and then have a couple of power cores left over for whatever it is that you want them for. So weapons, stability, shields, whatever it might be. So that's my big recommendation at this stage. Now, with our little transport vehicle, we were able to get back to base quite quickly. Boom, we've handed in our... our Frogget mission. We're handing in a couple of other resources, and now we have leveled up with Port Aqualite, so that wasn't very hard at all. We do, however, still have one more power core to unlock with Port Aqualite, and that is, as with all of the settlements, the last one is always a little bit of a grind. So we're grabbing all of the missions that we can, and we're going to grind every single mission we can do. We're going to do it. Now, I did all of this in one session, and I was starting to run out of things to blow up by the end of the session. So I don't know if these artillery things, I know they respawn because I've come across artillery pieces in the same spot across multiple sessions. So I'm wondering if it's time-based or whether it just resets when I load into a new game session. I'm not sure. I'm inclined to think it's a game session thing, in which case I'll test that out next session. I'll come out here and I'll see if there is any respawn on these artillery ones, because I still need to kill a couple if memory serves. But we'll deal with that another day. For the moment, we're back in combat. We're dealing with some rather irritating little hooers, and we're going to focus on taking this artillery piece down. Boom, that's done. And now it's just an easy job to clean up the last of the mining drones. So we've got these guys, we've got a pretty good routine for getting rid of those now. We're going to find in coming episodes, as we move away from these biomes, these starting areas, things do start to get a little bit more challenging because there's more water. Could that have possibly been the motivator for me spending a lot of time fixing my aquatic my aquatic vehicle? I'll let you work that one out in the coming episode. But until then, we've still got some gathering to do. We've still got some Froggets to transport, and look, we're just going to do a little bit of random exploring along the way as well. So, yep, enjoy the view, enjoy the terrible / creative driving, and yep, let's get on with it. After I picked up these froggets, I decided I was going to do a bit of a exploration run as well. I think it's more for the fact that I was still missing some couple of mining drones, I think, for the mission. But look, anywhere where there's new to explore, there's always new resources to pick up. So, I mean, it's a win just for that alone. More so that we get these, you know, fancy little treasure chests around the place too. They're you get 500 from each one of those, which is pretty cool. I think that's used for the cosmetics in the game. I haven't spent any of it yet. I'm just going to wait until the end. Whatever I've got at that stage, I might try and work on some, you know, rudimentary Rob-inspired outfit to set myself aside from the vanilla stuff. But that's all to come. Yeah, so we've explored this a little bit. We're going to come back to base now. Look, it was all just the same route that I took back the previous time, so I've just cut that. We're going to go and hand in our mission, and we're going to see... Oh, great, more artillery pods. Alright, this is where I was starting to struggle to find stuff. The hover tanks are the long ones that take time to turn, that's got the turret mounted under the front. There are times where you'll come across bucket loads of them. Yeah, I was at a point where I'd killed so many of them I just couldn't find any more. These guys are just the mining drones. You'll find them just about everywhere, and they do respawn fairly commonly. And then the 3 artillery ones are those rocket guys that hurl rockets at you. Those ones within a game session, I mean, my game session, the longest one I've had lately is probably only an hour and 15, which is the footage from this video. But I don't think I've come across any of them respawning. So, I mean, correct me in the comments if they are meant to be respawning and what the timer is for it. But for me, so far, the only time I seem to see them again is in a new game session. So, yeah, anyway. Here we are. That there is a hover tank. So that's good news. We've found one we can blow up. But no artillery pieces. Yeah, we're going to have to look a bit further to see if we can find 3 of those to fulfill that mission. Oh, hello. What was I saying about a lack of artillery pods? Not in this neighbourhood apparently. We managed to stumble across one, but it was in an area we hadn't explored before, so that sort of further reinforces my whole the damn things don't respawn thought process, but yeah, it's all good. A bit more action, a bit more, you know, death and destruction of drones. And me running into immovable objects. Well, I guess some things don't change, and by some things I mean my interesting efforts at driving. Yeah, well, alright, well, that's sorted. We just need to wrap up the rest of this combat, and we can go looking for another artillery pod. Alright, well, I took a lot more hits in that fight. Doesn't look like I lost any parts though, but we were pretty close to things starting to fall apart. So, yeah, we may need to work on our stability issues for our little gun buggy there, but look, that can wait for another day. We're back to our resource gathering here. We found another area which is... oh, hello! We found ourselves another artillery pod. Woohoo! Alright, let's see if we can knock this guy off a bit more efficiently. Aha! Take that, you poddy little pile of artillery. Yes, anyway. We just need to, knock off the remainder of these mining drones, and then we'll get back to the whole looking for more things to kill. Alright, after driving around for a bit and only finding one or two mining drones, we find ourselves back on the beach, and we've got ourselves a hover tank. So, yep, we'll have that. And his little mining drone buddies, they're pretty easy to knock off. In fact, I reckon there is, at some point, I would say around the wetlands, is where there's a little bit of a step up in the difficulty of the drones. Now, it's not to say the drones themselves behave any differently. I'm pretty sure they don't. But they do seem to hit a little bit harder, or maybe a little bit more accurately, or a bit of both. Because anytime I come back to this area, so we're sort of between, the first settlement and Tungberg, we don't take any damage at all dealing with this stuff. One of our tyres took a scratch. I mean, yeah, whatever. Whereas when we're fighting similar, Botnaks out in the wetlands area, we do seem to take a little bit more damage. So I'm gonna expand on that theory as we get further into the game, but I imagine it's intentional. If it is, a part of the game design. If it's not part of the game design, then I'm just overthinking it, and that's fine. I do plenty of overthinking in my day-to-day life. Why would this game be any different? But leave a comment down below if you've got some thoughts on that. And while you're doing that, we are back into our gathering and making botnaks go boom. Ah, bismuth. Yeah, I don't think I'd come across that resource before, or if I had, I wasn't recording at the time. Yeah, there's a lot of, I'll say, smaller amounts of other materials. Now, this plays into my whole, let's do an audit of what parts use what materials in a future episode. Because half the time I'm just picking up this stuff and it's just like, I have no clue what this is for. But I'm sure it's useful somewhere, and look, the more of it I've got, the better it's going to be when I figure out what it's for, kind of thing. So, yeah, so we'll put that on our list. We've got aluminium, we've got bismuth, we've got iron, we've got rubber, we've got sulfur, we've got mechanical parts, we've got whatever these things drop, pulse crystals, I think. Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of different stuff that is used in varying quantities with different parts, and I just want to consolidate my understanding of those materials in a future episode. So give me a thumbs up if you think that's a great idea. Yeah, I was fairly sure there wasn't much of any interest out here other than a few resources, and then I stumbled onto this bit of beach which we haven't explored yet, and then I noticed our little artillery pod friend in the distance. And by friend I mean target, and by distance I mean almost in front of me. Woohoo! We managed to tick off that mission to kill the 3 artillery pods. Awesome. Alright, we're going to teleport back to Port Aqualite, and we can hand that one in. And the other thing that we can do now that we're in Port Aqualite is hand in the other mission and wrap up the episode. If you've enjoyed it, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and to consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. Until next time, my name is Rudimentary Rob. Thank you very much for watching, and make sure you have yourself an absolutely fantastic day.